I've always believed that gifts reveal character. The way someone wraps a present, what they choose, whether the price tag is still on, whether they remembered what you said you liked 6 months ago when it slipped out in passing. Gifts are confessions. They tell you who a person really is when they're trying their hardest to impress you. Rob Dexter was trying very hard to impress me. We'd been dating for 3 months when the first package arrived, a cream-colored dress box tied with a ribbon the color of old gold, sitting on my doorstep on a Tuesday morning with a small card that read, "Saw this and thought of you. R." The handwriting was careful, the kind men use when they want to look thoughtful. I remember pressing the card against my chest before I even opened the box, thinking, this one is different. This one pays attention. The dress inside was beautiful. A deep burgundy wrap dress in silk-adjacent fabric, elegant but not simple. I held it up in the hallway mirror and felt that particular warmth that comes when someone sees you. I slipped it on and it was almost perfect. Just a little snug across the shoulders, a little tight in the chest. I told myself I'd been eating too much bread lately and hung it in my wardrobe with a smile. Over the next 6 weeks, the gifts kept coming: a silk blouse, ice blue and cool to the touch, a cashmere sweater the color of winter fog, a tailored blazer in charcoal herringbone, a sundress with tiny yellow flowers along the hem. Every one of them was beautiful, and it looks like it was expensive. It was the kind of wardrobe a woman builds slowly over years, each piece chosen carefully and each item a small declaration of herself. Rob seemed to be handing it to me all at once. I was flattered. What woman wouldn't be? He had taste and he was generous. Something struck me as odd, though. I mean, we haven't really been together for long, and yet he had an extraordinary sense of my style. I shrugged it off because I thought maybe he really took note of me, not like most other men did. The fit was the first thing I should have questioned more deeply. Nearly every piece was one size too small. The blazer strained across my back. The cashmere sweater rode up at my wrists. The sundress with the yellow flowers, which I actually loved, was so fitted across the hips that I couldn't walk comfortably in it. I made jokes about it to my friend Nadia. "Rob keeps buying me clothes I have to diet into," I told her, laughing over wine on her kitchen floor. She laughed too. We attributed it to men not understanding women's sizing, to the particular blindness of people in new love, who see you as slightly more angelic than you are. I told myself it didn't matter. I'd get the things altered. I didn't get them altered. I hung them in a section of my wardrobe I privately called the aspirational corner, and I moved on. Then one day, I decided to wear the cashmere sweater. It was a cool Thursday evening, and Rob was taking me to dinner at a wine bar on the east side of the city. I pulled it off the hanger, shook it out, and brought it to my face the way you do with cashmere, half to check it and half just because it's cashmere, and there is something undeniably comforting about the gesture. As I pulled it over my head, I gave a slight pause. There was a smell, a faint but distinct floral smell, with a weird powdery undertone. That's definitely not my perfume. I wear an amber and cedar scent, warm and a little smoky. This was something entirely different. It smelt similar to lilac, and I'm not a lilac person. I stood there in my bedroom holding the sweater and feeling a strange coldness. What the hell? I put the sweater back on the hanger and told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself cashmere picks up scent from anywhere. It could have been from the shop counter where he bought it, or from the hands of whomever cashed it up and put it into a bag. I told myself a lot of things. Then I opened the wardrobe and one by one brought each of Rob's gifts to my face. The burgundy dress smelled fine. Nothing unusual. The ice blue blouse was also fine, but when I took out the charcoal blazer and lifted the collar to my nose, it was there again. I breathed in slowly. Definitely lilac. Faint, but it was there, clinging to the lining. I didn't even need to bring the sundress with the yellow flowers close to my face. It hit me as soon as I took it off the hanger. I exhaled deep, trying to get the smell out of my lungs. Then I sat down on the edge of my bed. My legs had gone a little strange. I'm not a dramatic person by nature, but come on, be truthful. Would you wear something that smells like someone else had just taken it off and handed it to you? I was raised by a woman who believed that clarity was a form of kindness to others and to yourself. So I sat there and I forced myself to think clearly. A smell in new clothing could mean many things, but the same smell in multiple garments received from the same man. No way. I don't trust that. This was a pattern, and patterns, my mother always said, are trying to tell you something. I called my friend Nadia and told her the story. She was quiet for a long time after I explained. Then she asked, "What are you going to do?" "Find out the truth," I said, "and then decide." I was angry, yes. There was a cold, specific anger sitting in my chest, just the pure audacity of the man, but I was determined to get to the bottom of this. I've never been a person who has ever snooped through a partner's phone, desk, pockets, or anything like that, and I wasn't going to start now. People who know they're hiding things guard their phones. What they don't always guard are their habits. So I started paying attention to Rob's habits. He was attentive when he was with me. That part wasn't fake, or if it was a very convincing performance. He remembered things I said. He consistently texted during the day, the kind of steady contact that makes you feel like someone's thinking about you. He was warm, funny, and he had a way of listening that made me feel like I was the most interesting person in whatever room we were in. But there were gaps. Every Wednesday evening, without fail, he was unavailable. The excuse changed slightly each week: a work thing, dinner with an old friend, a commitment he couldn't get out of. Come to think of it, I'd noticed it before but didn't think much of it. But now I'm going to examine it like I was a real private investigator. I also started paying attention to his apartment. I'd been there a handful of times, but only when he invited me, and always for a few hours before he walked me home. The apartment was nice. He either had taste or had hired someone who did. It was clean, but sparse. The kitchen was stocked as if he cooked, but not often. The bathroom had one toothbrush, one razor, one brand of soap. Either Rob was very tidy, or the bathroom had been tidied specifically before I arrived. I thought about the sizing. Each time it was one size too small, as if the clothes had been bought for a woman who was slightly smaller than me, a woman who maybe wore a size 10 when I wore a 12. It just felt as if the clothes belonged to someone else. That thought hit me like a bus, and I let myself sit with it a bit. They were pre-worn, definitely not new. They'd been gifts from Rob to someone else first, someone smaller, and then they had made their way to me through some chain I didn't understand yet, along with her perfume. Lilac. I went to 3 department stores and stood at the fragrance counters asking to smell anything lilac. On the 4th attempt, I found a French perfume, soft and feminine, with top notes of bergamot and a heart of lilac that dried down to something powdery and warm. It was a signature scent, not cheap at all. I bought a small bottle, and I'm not sure why exactly. Maybe evidence, or simply to keep it close so I wouldn't start doubting my own nose. Nadia was the one who suggested I look him up properly. "Don't look at his social media," she said. "That's curated. Actually look him up." She meant public records, professional directories, that sort of thing. Nadia works in legal services and has a healthy appreciation for documentation. I found Rob Dexter. He is 38 years old, a financial consultant, self-employed. His business address is in the northern part of the city. His LinkedIn profile was professional and impressive without being flashy. There were mutual connections with a few people I knew vaguely from industry events. At that moment, there was nothing alarming. But Nadia had a colleague named Karen who had the kind of research instincts that should probably be illegal, who owed Nadia a favor. A week after I asked, Karen sent Nadia a document, and Nadia forwarded it to me at 11:30 on a Tuesday night with a message that said, "Call me when you've read this." I read it 3 times before I called her. Rob Dexter, whose full name was Robert Daniel Dexter, had been engaged once 4 years ago. The engagement was broken off, but there was no public explanation. He had a sister in Edinburgh and a mother in the south of England. His business was legitimate and moderately successful. His social media, looked at collectively across platforms, told a careful story of a man who enjoyed good restaurants, weekend hiking, and the occasional art exhibition. But there were inconsistencies. He appeared in photographs at 2 different charity events in the same month, events in different cities, attended by different social circles. In one photograph, he was with a group of colleagues. In another, taken at an event nearly 300 miles away, he was standing beside a woman with dark hair and a green dress. She appeared again at a different event a few months later, still beside him or near him. In one photo, she was laughing at something out of frame. She was slim, a size 10, I thought, possibly smaller, and she wore her hair pulled back from her face. She looked comfortable beside him in the way that people only look comfortable beside someone they know very well. I didn't spiral. I made myself a cup of tea, sat at my kitchen table, and thought about it for a long time. Then I made a decision. Her name, according to the photo tags that Karen had managed to trace, was Sienna. She had her own social media presence, limited but not absent. She lived in the city to the north, the city where Rob had attended that charity event. She worked in interior design. Her Instagram was full of beautiful rooms, color palettes, carefully composed cups of coffee. She was elegant and clearly creative, and she looked, in the photos where she was not perfectly composed for the camera, a little tired around the eyes. I recognized that look. It's the look of a woman who is managing something difficult but managing it quietly. I messaged her on a Thursday afternoon. I kept it simple and direct. I told her I thought we might be connected in an unexpected way and asked if she'd be willing to talk. I gave her no details because I didn't want to prime her reaction before she'd had a chance to form one. She took 48 hours to reply. She replied, "I'm listening." We spoke by video call on a Sunday morning when the light was good and I had drunk exactly enough coffee to be functional without being jittery. She was sitting at a kitchen table that I would have guessed from the aesthetic she had designed herself. She looked wary and steady. I told her what I'd noticed: the clothes, the fit, the perfume, the Wednesday evenings, and the pattern. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "He bought me that sundress for my birthday in March." I had suspected it, knowing it still landed like a stone in still water. Ripples that followed were extensive. Sienna had been dating Rob for 14 months, almost a year before I had even met him. She had no idea about me. She had, she told me carefully, been noticing her own inconsistencies. The occasional missed call, the weekends he was sometimes unavailable, citing family visits or professional commitments. "I thought I was being paranoid," she said. "So did I said. We talked for 2 hours. By the end of it, we were not friends exactly, but something purposeful. Two women who had been handed the same lie from different angles and were now comparing notes. She asked me what I wanted to do. I told her I had already been thinking about that. Here is something I believe. Revenge done poorly is just pain redirected. It scalds whoever holds it. But revenge done well is something else entirely. It's a correction, and I've always been good at corrections. I felt a form of grief because I liked Rob, well, the version of him he'd shown me, which was, as I now understood, a performance built from the best parts of himself, assembled specifically to charm. Losing that was a particular kind of loss, the kind of loss from a story you'd started to believe in. I gave myself 3 days, then I put it aside and focused. The plan was simple. Rob had a professional dinner coming up, a client event, something he'd mentioned casually 2 weeks earlier, the kind of event he liked to attend with a woman on his arm because he understood the optics of that. He had already asked me and I'd already said yes. Sienna and I arranged to arrive separately. What happened wasn't a scene designed to humiliate, it was a gentle and devastating illumination, and I liked it a lot. I arrived with Rob at 7:30. The venue was a private dining room in a city center hotel. The kind of place with low lighting and good acoustics where the conversations at neighboring tables are just audible enough to be distracting. Rob was charming. He introduced me to colleagues with the easy warmth of a man who is very comfortable in social situations. He kept one hand on the small of my back and laughed at exactly the right moments, and was objectively a pleasure to be around. Sienna arrived at 8:15. She had, at my suggestion, told Rob she'd be attending the same event through a separate professional connection, which was true. One of her interior design clients had a table. She looked composed and beautiful. She made her way through the room without looking for anyone in particular. She sat down at the adjacent table. Rob noticed her approximately 4 minutes later. I felt the moment his body changed, some small stiffening along the spine, a slight interruption in his breathing. He covered it immediately and extraordinarily well, but I had been watching for it, and I felt it. I leaned over and said, very quietly, "She seems nice." He looked at me, and something shifted behind his eyes. I said, "Her name is Sienna. I know, because she and I have been speaking for the last 2 weeks. She says happy birthday, by the way. She recognizes the dress. The dress I was wearing was the burgundy wrap dress, the first gift he gave me. It had, as it turned out, originally been given to Sienna on a previous occasion, and then she could only guess at the reasoning, reclaimed and regifted to me. Perhaps he ran out of ideas, or maybe he thought she wouldn't notice it was gone. Maybe he was too relaxed, thinking no one would look closely. I watched him understand what was happening, and I have to admit, it was more satisfying than I had expected. He started to speak. I raised one hand just slightly, just enough that he stopped. You don't need to explain, I said. We're not here for an explanation. We're here because we both wanted you to know that we know, that's all. I stood up, touched his arm once in a gesture that was goodbye in every possible sense, and walked to Sienna's table. She looked up at me. I sat down, and then we ordered wine. We spent the next hour having, against all reasonable expectation, a genuinely lovely conversation about everything except Rob, who remained at his table and, to his credit, or perhaps simply in defeat, he didn't attempt to interrupt us. We left together. On the pavement outside in the cold city air, Sienna laughed, which made me laugh too. What do you do now? She asked. Whatever I like, I said. What about you? She thought about it. The same, she said. We went for a late dinner at a small Italian place she knew nearby. We talked until midnight. I don't know if we'll stay in each other's lives. These things are hard to predict, built as they are on an unusual foundation. But I know that she's sharp and honest and that she chose, as I had, to meet this situation with clarity rather than collapse. As for Rob, I heard from him once, a text at midnight the night of the event. It began with, I can explain, and I deleted it without reading further. There is nothing he could have explained that I didn't already understand. His gift to me, in the end, was the truth. The scent of another woman on gifts that hadn't been bought for me at all, the clothes one size too small and all those Wednesdays. I kept the sundress, don't judge me, I like it. I had it altered and now it fits me. I also kept the cashmere sweater, had it professionally cleaned so that all trace of the lilac perfume was gone. It's extraordinarily soft, and the color suits me, so I see no reason to waste good cashmere on a lesson already learned. The rest I donated. There's something I think about sometimes now that the whole thing is behind me. The original instinct I had, standing in that hallway with the burgundy dress held up in the mirror, feeling seen. I wonder how much of what we feel in those early moments of being cared for is real, and how much is projection, how much we want to be seen so badly that we find it in things that are merely well chosen. Rob was good at choosing. He wasn't good at the other parts, the harder, less glamorous parts that hold things together when the performance runs out. Gifts are confessions. He just wasn't confessing what I thought he was. I'm grateful for not explaining away what I smelled in that sweater, for not allowing flattery to cloud my instinct or being willing to sit down with a stranger who turned out not to be a stranger at all and say, here is what I know, here is what I found, and here is what I think we should do about it. And to Sienna, wherever she is this evening, I hope the wine was good. I hope you're sleeping well, and I hope you're wearing something that was always yours. What do you think? Did Kathleen do the right thing, or would you have handled Rob differently? Drop your verdict in the comments, and if you've ever spotted the red flags others missed, tell us. This is a Story Junkie original. Take care of you and God bless. Like this story, subscribe to Story Junkie for more.